Planet Earth is under threat. Thousands of wild animals are in danger of becoming extinct. CBBC has decided to find out what's being done to save them. Last year, CBBC launched a nationwide search to find some of our most passionate young wildlife experts.
Oh, look!
Two of the entries were Rosa Dodd and Fiona Pearl, both from London.
Wow, that's so soft.
The prize, a trip of a lifetime to see some of our most endangered species in the wild. It was tough, but in the end, only 7 could go. Wildlife presenter Michaela Strachan helped choose the winners.
Congratulations. On this occasion, I'm here to tell you that all 4 of you are going on your Saving Planet Earth trip of a lifetime. Well done. Give yourself a round of applause. Yay!
I actually still don't believe it. I'm just over the moon. It still hasn't sunk in, and I did have a quick sob. I just couldn't believe it. It's going to be so good. I don't really spend much of my time inside because I like the peace and the quiet of outside. I sometimes go to Richmond Park where there are deer. Deer are quite shy, so you need to be careful not to make too much of a noise so you can get quite close to see what they do.
One of my favourite animals are the otters. I think they're just wonderful to watch. I've adopted 2 otters called She and PJ.
We'd been told to expect a text to tell us where we were going.
I'm a bit nervous.
My heart's just going pretty. Oh my goodness. A monkey? Oh wow, we're going to the jungles of Borneo to see gibbons.
Oh wow!
Oh my god. This is going to be the most exciting text I get in my life, probably.
We were off to southern Borneo in Southeast Asia. Borneo is a massive island and home to hundreds of different species of animals.
Gibbons live in the treetops of the forest and use their amazing arms to swing through the branches.
They live in families just like us and hate to be on their own. Tragically, their forests are being cut down at an alarming rate, so the gibbons are losing their homes.
It's quite bumpy.
Yeah, but I like it when it's like that.
Me too.
As we arrived in Borneo, we saw some of the devastation for ourselves. We were shocked.
Look over here. There's major deforestation.
Trees are cut down for timber, but also to clear the land for other crops.
That's horrible.
You can even see all the logs.
One of the ways to clear the timber is by lighting forest fires. This has killed or injured thousands of animals.
The final bit of our very long journey was by boat.
We were going to the Kalawait project. Kalawait means gibbon in the local Dayak language.
Hello girls. Hi.
Shanice's been running the project for nearly 10 years.
You heard the song? The gibbon?
Oh,
Yeah?
Is that a gibbon?
Yeah, gibbon.
They sound like birds. It's incredible. Ah.
There are 170 gibbons living here at the moment. The hope is that most of them will eventually be released back into the wild.
When they first come in, they're put in a temporary cage for observation.
We had to put on masks so we didn't pass on any diseases to the gibbons. Shani took us to see Clapper, who'd been rescued from a forest fire.
So this is Klappa. This is an adult female. She arrived around 4 or 5 months ago at the dry season, at the time where people burn the forest. All the family just disappeared, and you can see pictures of the partner and he died.
Oh, it's horrible. Really horrible sight to see.
So now she's very depressed.
And gibbons die of depression.
Yes. It's happening many times, especially when they lost a partner.
Are you worried about her? Do you
I'm
think?
very worried about her. I don't know what will happen in the next few weeks or months.
Klippa is just a really, really sad story. Especially as you saw an actual picture of her mate. That was just really shocking.
Before I came here, I didn't really realise that gibbons get depressed, but it's completely the opposite. But losing their homes isn't the only danger gibbons face. They're also popular as pets. Even though it's illegal to keep a pet gibbon, people still do.
When you're used to swinging through the trees, the effects of small cages can be horrific. Tulu was kept in a tiny cage for 5 years and is now crippled for life.
It makes me feel really upset that humans put almost an adult gibbon into a really small cage so she couldn't stretch or swing at all. The cage she's in might seem small, but it's far bigger than the one she used to be in. Although she'll never be released back into the wild, when she's more confident, she'll be transferred to a much larger cage.
I think that Tulu was a really sweet gibbon, like the way she'd hold your hand. So I think she does enjoy it here. She's not depressed and like hiding in the corner like Klappa.
But not all the gibbon stories are as bad as Klappa's and Tulu's. Some do get better. To have any chance of living in the wild, they need to find a mate. Gibbons are very sociable animals and don't like being on their own. But this is one of the hardest things to do because they're really fussy and won't just pair up with any gibbon. Luckily, this male, Pew, fell for Jessie at their first meeting. Now they have a baby called Esther. They'll stay together for the rest of their lives. Like all wild gibbons, they communicate by calling. Just listen to it, it's incredible.
Kind of sounds like an orchestra's playing or something.
Yeah. Their calls are used to defend their territory in the wild. This family is a real success story.
The plan is, in the next few days, to release them. So after many years of captivity, they will be free again.
Pew, Jessie and baby Esther will be the first gibbons to be released from Callawait. It's taken 6 years to get to this stage, and Shani says we'll be able to help with the release.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's going to be amazing. It had been a really interesting first day, and we'd learnt loads about gibbons. Back at the hotel, there are a few more wild surprises. We found a really massive spider, which Fiona's a bit apprehensive about.
I'm fine with snakes and other reptiles, it's just their movement.
It had been raining, so there were loads of bugs and reptiles about. So far we've seen spiders and geckos and snails. I saw a red millipede down there in the log. It's quite red, really. Perhaps it's poisonous. It's like a ripple, it's like a Mexican wave.
Yeah.
The next morning, we were up early. There was a fruit delivery and extra help was needed.
They like the papaya. Just as we finished feeding, Shani came rushing up with some news.
I'm sorry, but we need to go right now, okay? Okay. Take the kids, go to the speedboat.
We've been told that they've got a gibbon, so We're going down to the village to take the gibbon back here.
We got called while we were just talking to each other, and we had to get into a speedboat and sort of rushing a bit.
This one. Above the river, yeah. Put your mask.
Outside the house there was a sort of bamboo, very small cage, and I didn't know what was in there until they told me that it was the gibbon.
So we'll try to open it just a little bit, just to see, yeah, if it's okay.
It looks okay, yeah.
It's big or small? I cannot see him.
It's quite small, but
Small,
I'm not sure what size they're meant to be.
It's scared.
We took her back to the clinic to check her over.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
We've just tranquilised her and we're going to take her blood to check she hasn't got any parasites or human diseases. She's holding onto my finger really tightly.
She's probably a bit scared.
Yeah.
You asleep already?
Yeah, I think she is.
Yeah?
She just let go of my finger. I found I was really helping today. It gave me quite a warm glow inside and I felt quite connected to the gibbons in some ways. It was just nice to know you're doing something to save the planet, even if it's very small, just like injecting one gibbon with one injection can make all the difference to its health.
Yeah, great.
It was just a real privilege to be able to do that, and my heart's just beating a lot now.
After she had had all her tests, we put her into her new cage to recover.
She's in a new home. I'm really happy.
It was lovely to help out, and hopefully, if she does all right, she'll eventually be released into the wild.
Even though it's illegal to keep gibbons as pets, as we've seen, it still happens. And throughout Borneo, it's very common.
But Shani has found a way to change people's attitudes in the area around Calawate. It's an unusual idea, but it really works. He's set up a radio station.
Pop music is played, and there are little adverts with messages about looking after gibbons.
Jadi jangan kemana-mana, stay tuned.
Jangan memelihara wawa.
Don't keep gibbons as pets.
Seharusnya wawanya
Gibbons should be free swinging from branch to branch.
serahkan wawa Anda.
Please give your gibbon to the Calawate Centre.
It's had amazing results, and in Palankaraya, the town near Calawate, there are hardly any pet gibbons left.
Shani said we could have a go at writing and recording our own message.
What do you think of this?
Suddenly, everything changed.
Cabut aja teleponnya.
We had to go. There was an emergency, a response to Shani's advert.
This man has brought a gibbon into the Calawate Centre and he's just finding out if it was a pet.
So he say he buys a gibbon from somebody else 3 years ago, but now he look at the gibbon and he feels the gibbon is not happy, and that's why he understands it's a mistake to have a gibbon at home.
It would be great if the message about keeping pet gibbons could reach out to the whole of Borneo. Now it was our turn to record our message.
Awa kahir best. If you see a gibbon in the market, don't buy it. Untuk tetap baba. This makes poachers hunt more.
Kau anda mehet awa yang. They were born in the wild. They should stay there.
Money from the Callaway project isn't just spent on the radio station. It also goes into improving the lives of local communities so they can see the benefits from helping the Gibbons.
Some of the people in Borneo are very poor. You have to pay to go to school here. We went to a village where most of the parents couldn't afford to send their children to one.
We met 9-year-old Titi and her 7-year-old brother, Ari.
When I went to the village to see the two children, Titi and Ari, it was quite emotional because they hadn't been to school and they hadn't had any education at all.
Being in the village was a real shock to me. I never realised how different my life was to children here, and how lucky I am. I find it quite sad that the children haven't been to school before. Makes me quite sad. I just feel so selfish that I complain about tiny things.
Having Fiona getting really upset made me feel, yeah, this is a big deal.
And Shani is about to change the children's lives here forever. He's built a school, so for the first time, Titi and Ari will get an education.
To have Callaway make them a school, I felt really lucky for them, and I think it would make a real difference to the children and to the Gibbons. So that was a really nice idea of Shanice.
Gibbons aren't the only animals facing problems. All the animals that live in the rainforest are losing their homes. Some die, but others are rescued. Orangutans have become endangered, mainly because of deforestation. We went to a sanctuary that helps them.
Lona has been looking after orphaned orangutans for more than 10 years.
She likes to be held. She's still very young, she's only a year.
They're usually very upset when they're brought in, as they're young and have just lost their mothers.
Looks like she's trying to kiss you.
Yeah, she is. She's probably going to kiss your nose. They like to taste the sweat and stuff from our faces.
Lona believes they need a lot of cuddling, just like they'd usually get from their mums. She's really, really cuddly and affectionate to me. Oh. Yeah. You definitely like my hair, don't you?
Mm.
These all lost their mums then in the forest?
Every single one of them, the mothers has been killed. It's humans
really
that kill them. Yeah. They're all orphans. They're just considered just like pests. Just like we have rats in our fields at home and we kill them because they're pests.
There are about 600 orphans at the centre, and in the afternoon they come back from the forest for tea.
We help carry them, but like all babies, they don't care where they go to the toilet.
Not very nice, but very, very sweet orangutan.
They weren't the only ones that were hungry.
At least you don't have to worry about table manners.
There were a lot of orangutans. It made me feel really sad to think they'd all lost their homes and their mums.
The biggest threat to their homes at the moment is palm oil. There are palm oil plantations springing up all over Borneo. To plant the crop, you have to completely clear the forest. To protect the animals, you need to safeguard their homes. We were on our way to a protected area, in the hope of seeing some of the few remaining wild orangutans and gibbons. But on the way, we saw some of the devastation.
There's palm oil down here.
It was a real change of mood when you saw the palm oil and then you saw the forest. The forest looked colourful and lovely, and the palm oil looked really dry and horrible. It was quite upsetting that they have to do this to the rainforests and destroy the gibbons and the orang's habitat. It was awful.
Palm oil is used to make lots of food that we eat and products that we use. We had to go to a supermarket to get provisions for our trek and couldn't believe how many things had palm oil in.
Oh, these are palm oil in again.
Palm oil. They put vegetable oil in. That could be palm oil. Should we get some soap? We're a bit smelly.
This even has palm oil in.
Soap having palm oil. Oh.
It was quite hard to shop ethically, but we did manage to get a few gibbon-friendly provisions for our jungle trek.
Our guide for the jungle was going to be Susan Chain. She's been studying wild gibbons for the last 3 years. Susan goes out into the forest every morning to find them. The forest is flooded, so to get there you have to get on a rather unusual train.
Welcome to camp.
Come and have a look at this. The camp was a real Borneo experience. Now, you'll find in Borneo most of the time that you don't actually have a toilet. You have a squat. Now, they're a bit different, and there have been snakes hanging around, there's spiders in the corner, and I'm not sure whether you have noticed this, but there is actually the fact of no toilet paper.
It started raining, and the rain brought out my favourite thing, bugs.
Look what we've just found. It's a rhinoceros beetle, a male, like a rhino, that has its long snout that it uses to impress the female.
Susan and the team live in the camp all year round and get up early every morning to find the gibbons. We were going with her.
Do you find the gibbons by their tracking their calls?
Very much so, yes. Their songs are really loud and travel very far, and as soon as they start singing, we can pretty much find them. And this is what we want to hear tomorrow.
We realised getting up early actually meant getting up in the middle of the night, so we went to bed.
Shattered. Really tired. At 3 o'clock in the morning, we managed to drag ourselves out of bed. Things were looking good.
It was a clear night, so we had a good chance of hearing the gibbons.
We just left. 5 minutes later, it tipped.
It's so muddy.
I really enjoyed having a little bit of a challenge. I like mud and I like the wet, so slopping through the mud wasn't too bad.
The rain didn't stop. In fact, it got worse. The more it rained, the less chance we had of seeing the gibbons.
Given this kind of weather, they're going to be as wet and miserable as we are, and they're probably not going to sing.
It was a bit disappointing when Susan admitted that it wasn't going to clear up and that we had to go home.
I was quite disappointed not being able to see the gibbons because of the rain, because I said I wasn't going to let anything stop me, expecting it to be spiders or scorpions. So it was just a bit of a shame we couldn't see them.
It wasn't just the weather that was against us. It was time as well. We had to get back to Callaway. Sadly, we'd missed out on our only chance of seeing wild gibbons. Everybody was busy when we got back, as Shani was getting ready to release their first gibbons.
We're going to do the release today, so I'm a bit nervous because I've never done anything like that before.
I think it's going to be really emotional today. It's kind of like the final stage of a journey for the gibbons, but I think Shani might be slightly sad because he's worked with them for such a long time. They had to be tranquilised to get them out of the cage. Baby Esther was disturbed when her mum Jessie went to sleep.
Esther must be really worried about her mum. After checking over Jessie and Esther, it was Pugh's turn. He knew something was up and was quite jumpy. So Shani had to use a blowpipe to put him to sleep.
Once they'd been checked over, we set off to the release site.
Shani has bought up an area of protective forest near Callaway, and this was going to be their new home. We're going deeper into the forest. Welcome home.
Ini orang-orang ini beberapa di dalam chest itu.
It was pretty obvious the Gibbons were keen to get out. We were going to release them at the same time, so they wouldn't lose each other.
Bye-bye, Gibbons.
1, 2, 3.
When we released the Gibbons, it was a bit nerve-wracking because Pugh went out straight away up the trees, but Esther and Jessie stayed in the cage for quite a while, and I was quite worried that they might get separated or something.
Luckily, Jessie and baby Esther came out and made their way towards Pugh.
I think, you know, all three of them will look after each other, so they've got a really good chance of surviving. And I just feel really privileged and honoured to be able to help them, because in some way it's making history. Oh, wow. That's such an amazing sight to see.
We've been disappointed before, but this made up for it. Wild gibbons up in the trees.
Are you sad?
Not really sad, just a little bit scared. It's always a big risk. I mean, it looks very easy to release an animal, just open the cage. But it's a big challenge for them.
The challenge was on, but with Shani and all his helpers watching over them, these gibbons and all the other gibbons have a great chance of surviving.
It had been an amazing trip, and we'd both fallen in love with these wonderful animals. But it was time to leave.
Bye Pugh, bye Jessie, bye Esther. Good luck in your new home. I'm gonna miss them.
I'm gonna miss them too.